Okay, it's episode 37 of that marketing show. This show is brought to you by First Doctor, creating healthcare market leaders. My name is Matt Coffey, president of Coffey Group, and I want to talk to you today about goal setting, online goal setting. So we need to talk about what's happening coming up now at the end of the year, about goals, and especially about online marketing strategy goals for your company, or if you're an agency or another person who's involved in the industry, thinking about your own goals, about how do we set goals. But let's talk first about why people don't set goals and why we run into problems, especially with customers who haven't got their thoughts even aligned into what their online marketing strategies will do for them. So, one, they have not been sold. So they haven't even been sold in their own thought process of what they want to accomplish. How many more phone calls do you want? This year, this month, next week, today? How much more traffic do you want to your website? Right? Do you want a 20% increase, 100% increase? How, when? How many forms do you want filled out on your website that give you leads that people now you can call for revenue and for profit? Right? So they have not been sold on the fact that they need to do this. So these are the big pieces of trying to think about your goal setting, is how do you increase, right, if you're looking as a business, as how do you increase your revenues? Well, what are the things that are going to get you there? Especially if so much business is done and so much activity is done for searching and online today that 80% of people go to a website before they even make a choice of what they want to do. Either it's a service, product, what have you. They don't know how to set them. So they haven't really sat down and thought about with someone like an agency or on their own. They don't even know what are the criteria and what we call KPIs, what are the key performance indicators of what moves one person from where they are today to where they go to, and what's the key performance indicator where they start, the baseline, right? So that might, again, go back to phone calls, it might be traffic, it might be conversions. We have all sorts of dialogue in this industry to create KPIs, or, again, if you don't know how to set them, then it's very difficult to be sold on online goal set. Next, fear and risk. Ooh, I got to get my wallet out, right? Well, that's part of the whole strategy of trying to grow as a company, is that there's some risk involved, especially even in the world of traditional online advertising, putting stuff into paper and print. There's a risk. It may not work, right? But the point is you have to invest and you have to think about what are the characteristics of that fear and risk that is holding you back. Lack of time, right? I don't have time to set goals. I'm too busy, right? This is the worst excuse of all three of not setting goals. Because really what this is I don't have direction, right? I don't know where I want to go. Because if you're saying you have lack of time, then you have no direction about how you want to accomplish things. So now let's think about short range and long range goals. So you want to break your goals down into per day, per month, per week. You want to think about the short range strategy of getting pieces of the puzzle set up in your goal planning strategy to look at this stuff in a granular way. And then you want to take your long range goal and look at that and map it back to those granular aspects. So if you were to say, let's say, I want to lose, let's just put this into physical format, I want to lose 50 pounds, right? If I suddenly lose 50 pounds this month, you'd say it's ridiculous, right? But if you said, okay, I'm going to lose 1 pound this month, well, after 12 months, I'd have a 12-month net loss of pounds, right? So if we look at someone to say, hey, I'd like to lose 50 pounds, well, over how much time? Or in the case of a online marketing strategy, I want 50 more phone calls, right, per month. Break that down. How many per day, right? So how are we going to do that? That's, again, how to set the goals. Go as far as you can see for now. So really to think about your goal strategy, you don't have to go into 10 years from now, 5 years. Go as far as you can see your business. Or go as far as you can see how your strategy will take you, and then map it back. So if you have a 3-year plan, map it back from there. And think about the things that are going to get you there. How many more phone calls does it take to get a sale? How many sales does it take to get to a certain amount of revenue? How much revenue that you get creates so much profit, and then add that in and balance it out over 3 years. Yeah, this is actually planning and thinking. Yeah, this stuff up here, you have to actually do this. So part of trying to think about your goal setting from an online perspective is to think about the long range and then tie it back to, the process of looking at really the how-tos. Now, here is the mix of the matter, what I would call sort of the mix of the matter of the batter. We used to say, my mother was quite a baker. She was actually a really good cook, and she did a lot of work. Actually she was a home ec teacher, so she had a lot of recipes and stuff like that. So she used to make biscuits, and sometimes biscuits in the oven, when they came out, they'd only be this big, right? So that doesn't make much sense. Why is a biscuit only that thick? So biscuits should rise, right? So what she'd say is they squatted to rise, but they got cooked in the squat. Okay, so they actually got cooked before they were able to rise. And that is what happens with goal setting, is that people always have an excuse for setting the next goal strategy because they look at the external things that are going on. Well, we're around holidays now, so I don't have time. After the first of the year, I'll get things started. And with a lot of people who come to us for a strategy on trying to build their online momentum and strategy, well, you know what? We'll make a decision in 2 or 3 weeks, and then we'll get back to you. And then by the time it's maybe 6 months, the competitors and all this have already made these, grandiose movements, and now it's just going to catch up some more. So we always see the same thing. So what are your goals? What are you trying to accomplish? Right? So what's the strategy behind what you're trying to do from a mental perspective? Where are you trying to go from a revenue perspective? And how can we tie that back to online goals to help your business go? Instead of saying, well, it's not the right time, and eventually we're going to get to it, and we've been thinking about getting that new website to get our new process and our products out. So you have to really think about taking action, right? So external excuses limits internal change. So actually, one of the things about goal setting is changing internally and making the decision internally to get to a number or to get to an actual count of what you're trying to re-engineer back to what you're trying to get to from a mental perspective to say, I want to get here. Well, how do you get there? It's revenue, it's profits, it's phone calls, it's activity, it's emails, it's all these things that need to be part of that chain. From an online perspective, of course, there's other pieces as well, but we know a lot of the businesses today need to go through this online strategy in order to get new clients, in order to get revenue. So it took you years to get where you are today. It took your competitors years to be in front of you. It's not going to be solved in months, and that's the single biggest challenge I think today. We live in this sort of soundbite society, drive-through society where, well, if I just throw money at it and it'll be done in a couple of months and everything's fine. Well, no, actually, you now need to really think about a long-term, again, go as far as you can see and start to plan out a long-term strategy. Things are not going to change within a couple of weeks or a couple of months, but over the period of time, you build up momentum. It's just like climbing up a hill on a bicycle. Once you get to the top, right, going downhill is fine, but climbing up, it's difficult. But once you get to the top, smooth sailing. Again, looking for the solutions and don't blame the problems. So if you're not getting enough phone calls, you don't have enough customers coming to you, you feel like, hey, the problem is that my marketing's not good, or I don't have enough strength in my advertising. Well, let's look at what are the solutions, right? What are the things that we can solve? And a lot of that, it goes back to the goal setting, but again, how's your staff answering the phone? Have you been recording the calls? Do you know what a sale is? Can you readjust your balance of your strategy into a better component of who the demographics are? Again, I'm not going to go through all these little minutia pieces because this is what we described in the previous types of episodes, but I just wanted to give you an overall idea of goal setting since we're getting close to the year. Hope this helps. We'll see you in the next episode.